We're going to start this hour with the most valuable company in America, Apple. Shares of the tech giant getting hit hard on coronavirus fears. We talked about the company with major shareholder Warren Buffett yesterday and asked him if he knows about the impact of the virus on the company.
No, I don't know one thing more. I may see Tim Cook at the annual meeting. I see him in Sun Valley once a year. No, I don't think I've placed a phone call to Tim Cook in 2 or 3 years. All kinds of things are going to happen to Apple over the next 10 years. The real question is, what is the degree of pervasiveness and strength of that product 5 or 10 years from now? And I don't think of Apple as a stock. I think it's our third largest business.
Joining us now to talk more about Apple, Ed Lee, New York Times corporate media reporter and a CNBC contributor, and John Fortt, the co-anchor of Squawk Alley. And guys, it's good to see both of you.
Yeah, good to be here.
I remember in the 70s when
there was a fog game.
I remember in the 70s, too. Yesterday, when Buffett was talking about that, he said that he considers Apple their third largest company. It's because the stake that they've built up has grown so rapidly over time. When you start thinking about how that performs, what will happen with the bounce back of coronavirus, John, what do you think?
I'm not sure that this is an issue where people are immediately going to buy all the iPhones that they didn't buy during this period.
You think those are lost sales, potentially?
Yeah, I think they potentially are, because we don't know yet about the psychology of the Chinese consumer. I mean, not only does Apple have to deal with when do the workers get back in full force, but then when do the buyers come back into stores? And are they going to feel like, okay, I meant to buy an iPhone a month ago, so now I'm going to buy it? Or is the psychology going to be more, well, I need to save a little bit more because I don't know how long this period of uncertainty is going to last?
You're not talking about Apple losing market share necessarily, though.
No, I don't know if people are going to say, well, I'm going to buy a Huawei phone or a Samsung phone instead if they were in the market for a high-end phone. But even that is possible if they suddenly decide, well, I'm not going to devote as much of my resources to technology. We just don't know yet. But based on Apple's history of customer loyalty, that seems unlikely that they lose significant share.
Ed, you agree with that?
I agree with that. I also think on the other side of it, the supply chain issue. I mean, aside from China being both consumer and supplier of these parts, I think the supply chain, it's not just going to affect Apple, it's affecting huge swaths of the technology manufacturing industry. So, Lunar New Year, a lot of people China takes a break for about a week or so. It coincided with coronavirus, and I think just now we're starting to see the effects of that. So not just for Apple, but manufacturing generally, for the back half of the year is going to be pretty bad. Just how disruptive factories have been because of the virus.
We've been talking today about how factories are coming back to some extent, maybe 35, 37, 38% back. If that's the case and that sticks out and we ramp up from here, is that going to be a huge problem, or is this something where you could see a V-shaped recovery, at least for the supply chain?
I think for recovery, I think it's more likely for recovery. I think, as Buffett was talking about, they're buying Apple shares every day. I think he's buying on all these dips. I think, it's actually a good thing for his thesis. And the fact that he finally got a phone.
Yeah, he did talk about that yesterday. A longtime user of the flip phone only. He has finally transported. Although there were some people who raised the question yesterday, does that mean that it's jumped the shark?
That's what I would think, yeah. But, I think there's another question here. Industry-wide about what's happening with 5G, right? China was on this big push to build out 5G networks in all the major cities.
You think it slows it down meaningfully?
Well, I think it has to. You got to be outside to install this equipment. If they were going to push all year to do that, they probably don't have people up on poles doing that. So what does that do for demand for 5G equipment and devices if the networks are going to take longer to get ready? That actually could be an advantage in a way for Apple because there are a number of other players that have 5G phones out already that might not see that demand come through sooner. It might show up later when Apple has
got a product ready to go.
What's interesting about 5G is that for all the talk about the infrastructure and actual devices, the platform, we don't know what the killer app for 5G is yet, right? All we know is it's just faster right now for a lot of people. It's fine. People are watching Netflix on their phones as they're going to work, that kind of stuff. Is there something that 5G is going to give me that I otherwise would not have been able to get through my phone? And that's a thing I haven't really seen yet. I don't know where that application is.
You see the speed, you're just going to want it.
Oh, no, the speed, you're going to want it, absolutely. But I see people on Twitter all the time sort of like snapshotting, like, here's my download speed, my upload speed. Great. What did you get for that?
But I have a different question, because I think this issue on Huawei and China 5G is important. The U.S. has talked so much, in this national security conversation about Huawei, the other piece of it is that we're behind, right? I mean, at least that the perception is that we're behind relative to China in terms of our ability to roll this out as quickly. If they can't roll it out as quickly, and I'm worried my comment's going to be like a Wilbur Ross style comment in about a moment. But no, if you think about it, does this provide not necessarily an advantage, but allow the United States to catch up to the extent we don't have the same types of problems in terms of our ability to deploy this next year? I
don't think so. I think too often we frame this 5G competition issue wrong. I think some of the issues in the U.S. have to do with the legal ability to put 5G in dense areas. I don't think if we're behind a couple of months from where we want it to be, that's as much of an issue. I think there are issues with spectrum allocation that still have to get figured out. And then I think on the Chinese side, once all of this gets cleared up, and for everybody's sake, I hope it happens quickly, the government does have enormous incentive, like from a public works perspective almost, to push even harder than they might have from an economic stimulus perspective to get this done. So too soon to say that.
And consumers aren't choosing between U.S. 5G and Chinese 5G. It's just a matter of how quickly it's going to roll out. So.